So I might have been a little premature in going through the dream from the dream stage as far as that kind of pain what people need into the marketing stage. I'm going to give you another week or so to go through and maybe fine tune some of those dreaming ideas, maybe even change them. Nothing's in cement, and you can certainly go through and change things up. Here's some things I want you to think about here. As far as pain is concerned. And I put up a post last week about the death of a mentee of mine, a high school student who ended his life. And as you can imagine, that sent some waves through the high school community and where I teach. And I happen to teach a class there that deals with digital business applications. So I sat down with these students, my mentee who happened to be in that class as well, and we talked about, so what if there was some type of application out there that could go through and maybe discourage somebody from taking their life? And upon initial research, and one of you have done this research as well, and I appreciate that. There are well over 65,000 different apps that are out there that go through, that put out information about suicide prevention, those kinds of things, but nothing that's really truly disruptive, nothing that goes through and reaches out or uses data to go through maybe and make a connection or open up a line of communication or something that way. So I asked my students, let's talk about what kind of data is generated by your device. What does your phone have in it that might be able to go through and produce usable data? First one's obvious, location data, right? It's got a GPS in it. So it can go through and generate exactly where you are. It knows exactly where I'm at right now, okay? If I were to go through and put out the metadata to this video, it would go through and tell you exactly where I am in West Baniful on the edge of a storm that's blowing in off the Great Salt Lake. So that kind of data is pretty important, because if we had an individual who identified certain risk areas, a risk area might be a gun vault in a house, it might be a liquor store, it might be the back alley out by the football field behind the high school, it might be, you get the idea, right? So if these are areas where we don't think are healthy for somebody who might be ideating suicide, then maybe that data can be used to go through and provide some kind of notification. Maybe it can be used to go through and through a text push, go through and alert the individual that, I know you're there, maybe you need to leave, or is there a better place to go? You get the idea, okay? A second data generator that's in devices is an accelerometer. This is a cool little device. I told you about this a little bit before. That tells how fast you might be going. Not only does it tell that, but it also tells you how quickly you came to a stop. And it measures all that in G-forces. It measures it laterally, horizontally, vertically, diagonally. And certainly there are behaviors that can be digitally quantified through data. What I mean by that is, say I'm driving a car, okay? I have my iPhone, it's on me, or it's somewhere in the car, and I get into a crash, and there's a front-end collision, and it creates 2.5 G's worth of G-force, okay? Well, anything over, I can't remember the number, I think it's 1.1 G's can be dangerous to us. And so automatically the phone knows, first off, that because the accelerometer felt that G-force this way, okay? That we must have experienced some abrupt crash, that we came to an abrupt stop, initiating all this G-forces. So why not have it automatically call EMTs, for example, or 911, whatever, to go through and alert that there has been, we don't know what it is, but we know that something dramatic happened, and we know exactly where that happened at. Let's dispatch people out to give them a hand to see what's going on. I mean, how much time can we eliminate between somebody coming across the accident scene and dialing 911, okay, or OnStar, or whatever. You get the idea, right? So an accelerometer the data from that can be interpreted on so many different levels to go through and create scenarios to go through maybe and add that together with other types of data that might become helpful in preventing a suicide. You can open up a microphone And that microphone could be tuned into voice stress patterns. So if maybe there's some other discernible data that goes out there and says this individual's at risk, it opens up the microphone, it listens to voice stress through its own algorithms, it's able to go through and detect that stress levels are higher than what the baseline might have been. Oh, maybe we need to go through and contact somebody or alert somebody or make some kind of connection there. There's also the idea of semantic search. The algorithm that Jiminy Cricket had been written for. It had the ability to go through and look at word order and pick out meaning. It could also go through and look at what's the depressive nature of the songs that you're listening to in your iTunes playlist. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that could come together to perform some type of disruptive action. Maybe to go through and intervene on somebody who is considering terminating their life. So I'm using this as an example for you, maybe to inspire you to think about, okay, well, if I have this device that can go through and create all that kind of data, how can I make that combine? How can I make that come together to go through and take care of some type of pain? So that's what I want you to do this week, and continuing your dreaming, if you will, is to consider that data. And there's more. Look it up, research it, and see, what exactly is your smart device generating in terms of data, and how can that be used maybe to go through and assuage the pain of your users that are out there, and what can be built around that app. Okay. All right. I hope you have a good week. If you have any questions about this, let me know. I'll put in a little description on this discussion to go through and talk about this even more. But that's really all I want you to do this week, is to extend that a little bit farther in making some connection with the data generation hardware that is that's in your smart device. Okay? All right. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. Thanks.